What's going on, guys? We have 2 more weeks of this format, and I think it is appropriate to drop a tier list of all the tournaments that has passed by. And in order to get everything accurately done, I have 2 special guests, Snow and HK, one top 100 player and one former top 100 player. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? What's going on, y'all?
What's up,
Yeah,
Eric?
so we're gonna be doing some tier list courtesy of Eric.
Bet. And we have a bunch of decks to go over. So let's get started. And we're going to talk about one of the more dominant decks of the last season. We're going to start off with Darkrai. What do you guys think about that?
Dartina's dead, bro. R.I.P. bro. Play Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance for that deck, bro.
For real. I mean, I'll say I got my first ever tourney win with Dartina. A big tourney win. Pushed me into top 1K, top 100. But after this mega season, it's so dead, and I'm just so sad about it.
And I've been seeing a lot of Jolteon EXs being added to this deck. It cannot be saved, so.
Yeah, you literally have a tier for it since it's so dead. It just deserves to be in that dead tier.
Exactly. It's like one of those decks, ever since it got released, it just never died. But Mega Rising was the one to pick where it just stopped working consistently, and everything else in the game just outsped it, and it definitely has its own tier, like HK said, and we're putting it at the Darkrai tier.
To elaborate more, the reason why is because the implementation of megas, they have a lot of HP. Darkrai takes a long time to set up, which in and of it is itself works against it. Copycat is a big thing as well, so rare candy decks can get that extra like help, and also Ori is on the rise as well.
If I can add like an honorable mention to it, I feel like Jolteon EX kind of made it to the point where it's unplayable. People were running into Jolteon EX, but I feel like Jolteon EX, and we'll get to that sooner. We'll get to that soon about the Jolteon EX deck, where it lands in this category, but it's definitely not something to worry too much about. But Darkrai was just too scared when Jolteon came out to play.
1000%. And just real quick, we didn't explain this in the beginning of the video. We do have a couple niche tiers here. For the highest S tier, we're gonna call it Sweaty. For A tier, we're gonna call it Try Hard tier. For the mid, we're gonna call it Mid AF. And Slop, we're gonna call it Slop. And Darkrai is low tier, by the way, you know, for all the reasonings that we just gave right now.
We were thinking about putting Darkrai at the very bottom as Ericko because he put our names on it.
Bet. I gotcha.
Next one, I'm gonna say this right now. Mega Gyarados with Mantike should be low tier. And hear me out. It takes 4 energy to ramp up. Yeah, it's easy now with Mantike and Misty, but it's still not as strong as the others that we're gonna get to soon. Everyone had high hopes for Mega Gyarados and Mantike, so I think it's considered slop. You just don't see it in too much out there when you're playing in random matches. Maybe you'll play it with your friends and you know, to try it out, or maybe in 1 out of 10 random matches you'll see a Mega Gyarados. But Jellicent, Mantike, and Misty can just not save it. Yeah, the discarding is really, like, you know, kind of cool, but it's not game breaking as far as how Mega Blaziken can do 140 with just 2 energy, and I'm talking about like 120 plus the burn, and how Absol can just, you know, can disrupt your hand at the same time. But again, we'll get to all those cards soon. But I just personally think Mega Gyarados is just not as strong as the others as far as damage output, how much time it takes to set up, and yeah, for me, I'm gonna have to go with it being slop.
To be honest, like in the beginning of the format, everybody had so much high potential for this deck. It was one of the most, like, you know, hyped up Pokemon, but at the same time, for the same reasons that Snow listed, it just takes too much time, and the other decks also just outspeed it. By the time you get the Mega Gyarados, it's already probably gonna have damage, or they're gonna have like a setup Blaziken or a established board where they could just take over and, you know, just like win the game. They have multiple win conditions versus your, you know, 140 discard, I mean the top 5 cards of your deck. Again, very high roll, but HK, I'm gonna leave it to you.
I'll just say, so Gyarados, the main problem with Gyarados is you're trying to charge it up with a Mantike, and you have a Mantike up front, Gyarados in the back, and you don't really have a support system where you can have a secondary attacker or a late game attacker. The closest thing I've seen that works with it is a Gyarados that it does 2 energy and does like 20 and then a 40 for each discarded bench. The way it works is you put up Mega Gyarados first, then you bring out that Gyarados and you discard the Mega Gyarados. That's the only way I've seen it work out. But other than that, its support system in terms of Pokemon is not as strong as other deck types.
So I honestly would drop it somewhere near the Darktina because like it's not even having impactful tournament showings at all.
For me, it's just slop, but I'll leave you to make that decision.
What do you think, H?
I'd agree with kind of just putting it in slop. Like I'd definitely play it over Darktina. Like I think it'll have a better chance at winning into Megas than Darktina. Just put it.
Gotcha. 2 slop, 1 dark. We'll go unanimous decision. Bang. Slop Bing, it bang, is. Boom.
Next deck that we're gonna be talking about, which one of the other players actually put me on to this deck. And it's a very interesting deck actually. It'll be Guz Lord and Naganadel.
I wonder who the other player is.
Yeah, so Snow showed me this deck at the start of the season actually, and I want to mention that this variant I would include the Jirachi version as well. That's running a Darkrai into it as well. Guz Lord is just a card that's like very usable because of its ability to discard energies, and it has enough HP to work away on it, and poison just a strong thing, especially with Nihi. That being said, I think I'd put it like near the end of like mid. Any opinions there, guys?
Real quick, Snow, remember who introduced you to the favorite Guz earlier in the format?
So you had mentioned it. You didn't give me no deck list, so
I gave you the inspiration.
You gave me the inspiration, and I created
All right,
whatever.
Snow, hit me with your facts.
I think it's actually high tier, and hear me out. I've gone against Blaziken with this deck. Okay, I've gone against Blaziken, and I have a really good record against Blaziken. I'm not talking about, Blaziken with Torkoal. I'm talking about the Blaziken, structure decks that you're seeing out there. And I do want to say it's undefeated against Gyarados, but I'm not where we ranked Gyarados is not too much of a showing. And I have played it against Suicune Ninja, and it's just like I can't explain how good it is. So I think it's high tier because the only decks you're gonna see, Mega Altaria, it's so good against it too. So you're playing around low costs, okay? Altaria has 30, 50 HP level mons, and most of them are weak to your typing advantage. Dark, except mine is Shingling, but that's 30 HP. Come on. And then as far as anything else, like Guz Lord is its own mini Ultra Beast. I'm sorry, it's its own mini Mega. 170 HP with, that kind of a tank with 2 abilities, Grind Core and the 120 damage. That's giving Mega numbers without like being too weak to anything out there that is you're probably worried about, like Heracross, anything Leaf Energy. But anyways, I personally think it's high tier just because of the low energy. Sorry, the 1 cost energy. And your opponents are just going to be struggling on the board. Like they haven't even landed a hit on Guz Lord, and they're being taken out by Naganadel or Neolego.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The Guz Lord is super strong, and in most recent tournaments, it is starting to see a lot of play and a lot more success. I do agree that it does belong in a high tier position. It does play well into the Mega Altaria really, really well. And yeah, just all the reasons that you guys both stated. That's my reasoning for rating it in the try hard tier.
Yeah, so with me as well, if I can add one more thing too, with the Guz Lord and Neolego, May. The introduction of May.
Yes, that makes it deck insane.
May just makes it just more durable. Now, it's not a guarantee all the time, but May does help, tremendously in those situations where you don't like the mons in your hand and you just use that as fodder for May. I've seen some people run Copycat with
Copycat just helps the consistency almost of every deck. It's so good.
Yeah, but I say it's a try hard. HK said slop, right?
No, I said like nearing the end of like mid, so like the high, like
between,
almost into
okay,
Charizard.
okay, I get
like
it.
in between type of.
Okay,
But yeah, I would drop it in high.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that. I mean, it's only really 2 losing matchups are into like Decidueye and Absol.
Right.
But other than that, it has a good matchup spread. It's if it pulls right, it'll win into the other decks as well.
I feel like with Ori out there too, this deck plays well against Ori as well. You're not really afraid of Ori with Poison Barb and the poison, and your 1-stars just absolutely threaten Ori. But we'll get into the others later.
Now, the next deck I want to talk about is Decidueye EX. Now, this deck has been a little bit of a sleeper in the beginning of the format, but in the middle of the format, it has just been popping up left and right. I believe it even won a few tournaments here and there. It's really strong, snipes out all of the weak Pokemon, the baby Pokemon in the Altaria decks, and, you know, snipes the Torchics to stop them from, like, you know, popping off. And you could even go off and take care of any Oricorios that pop up in your way with the non-EX version of Decidueye. The deck is really strong. The deck is really consistent. With the introduction of Copycat and May, the deck has just got buffed. And overall, let's hear the opinions of both of y'all.
This deck sucks to go up against. I don't really like rare candy decks, but this deck is just like too good. Like the introduction of Copycat, being able to implement 2 of them into your deck, and like running like just 1 disrupt card when you need it. Like this deck is so consistent, as you said, Ericko, and it has so many good matchups. Like it has a good matchup into like Oricorio decks, into the Absol decks that have Leaf weakness, into Guz Lord, into sniping the Froakies on the bench. And the thing is, you don't need to play Pokemon on the bench for this deck to work, so Suicune just does really bad into it as well. So I'd go on to say that this deck is like at the top of try hard, almost into sweaty. If you guys have any opinions about that as well.
This opinion will solidify that. Okay, I thought this deck was buns, bro. I thought this deck was buns, bro. I thought this deck is like, why are people running this like in like the new format, like really? And then I faced against it, and I used Absol Ori, and I got swept, bro. There was like no answer from me. And then I faced it with Mega Altaria again, and I got swept again. Because you know why? Because that Decidueye with the 70 damage that does damage anywhere just did it, you know, destroyed me. And that's what it, and that's the reason why I rank it between sweaty and try hard, because this deck with Copycat is so good. It like with the new support, it's insane. I would rank it between try hard and sweat.
Agreed. The deck is just way too powerful. It has, again, so many options to deal with everything. Not only that, you have access to Erica and Lily, so you have many variations of healing as well. Even though you don't really, you know, max out on your healing, the fact that you have the option to as well, you can have so many different builds. And Leaf Cape.
I put it
Can't
above
forget about Leaf Cape, 30 HP, free.
I would put it above Guz Lord.
Oh yeah, the order doesn't matter, but it's fine. Wow. Definitely above Guz Lord. Definitely though.
My next one, let's go with Mega Pinsir and Leafeon EX.
Hey.
Okay, when I first saw you play it on stream, I was like, holy, you know, like with Will and all that, and I saw you knocking it out. I was like, this was early first week, and I saw the power of it, right? And I was like, oh my god, I gotta try it out. This deck is garbage, bro. Put it Darktina, bro. It never worked for me. It bricked, bro. When if you start off with Mega Pinsir, it is game over, dog. Like seriously, bro. The match is over, bro. Put it in Darktina. I have nothing else to say about this garbage.
Wait. I got one thing to say about this. At least a very honorable mention. Just like 2 days ago, as the day of this recording, this deck right here has gotten a 3rd place out of a 256 person tournament. I think it was some Japanese player that topped with that.
I don't care if we get 1st place yet today, yesterday, tomorrow. This deck is buns.
That's a personal vendetta. I don't know.
It's not just me, bro. I've seen other people try it, and it was game over when they started off with Mega Pinsir, and I started off with it 10 times.
Snow, you're like a really good player. I don't know if I trust your luck, because you starting off with Pinsir a lot just like spells it out for me. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this deck is just not for you.
Right.
I think since Pinsir can one-shot like an Absol, it's grass, like it has the potential to do 150 on turn 2 if you charge it with a Pichu. Like it's at least gotta be considered into like slop, surely.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll give it the slop, but it's got to be at the very end of slop.
All right.
Sure,
We're gonna drop. There's really not that much to say. It's coin flip, high roll
I mean,
deck.
after that
you know,
very passionate showing from Snow, I think we gotta do him the justice and put it at the bottom of the slab.
at his tier.
I think we put it S tier just to piss off Snow.
I know, right? Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we're just giving everybody the wrong information if we put it at S tier, but okay.
Altaria and Jirachi. I think it has the potential to be a sweaty deck, but I'm just gonna hard right and say right now that it's just in tryhard. I used the deck. The reason why I won that invitational is because Suicune was banned. Had Suicune not been banned, I would have been in a lot of problems because this deck is very bad at the Suicune, and that's saying a lot about Suicune, which we'll get into later. This deck overall has really good matchups. Altaria is just like a tank, 190 HP. It has a good surrounding cast with Chingling, like locking out the rare candies and Pokeballs, and then you have Jirachi to either finish off kills or either have like a Cyrus target, and then you have like your Ori counter with the Sableye, which has 80 HP. So I'd say Altaria is in like tryhard.
I agree with him. I have nothing else to say besides how strong it is, it being a tryhard deck. You have answers to everything. That Chingling is such a disruption, and I really think that they should have made Chingling a crown card instead of Klefki.
Yeah, the simple fact that you have access, you definitely have a bunch of access to, have Cyrus plays open up to, and, attack Oricorios on the bench. Yeah, no, it's definitely solid.
Would you guys... Do you guys think they should have made Chingling not do any damage?
No, it should do 10 damage, but I'm gonna, you know what? I retract my statement. I think it should be S tier, but not at the very highest of S tier or top tier or sweaty. I think it should be like up there between sweaty and tryhard, just because it has been winning tournaments and the damage output is really high, and you have answers for everything. And it's low cost energy too, so it's not asking you to do like 2 or 3 energy. You just need to get Mega Altaria, and that's the only one that you need to really ramp up, unless you get into an Ori, which you start looking for Sableye.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
I think it belongs between sweaty and top tryhard.
Actually, I agree with you. Just because of the fact that it's evolved into sometimes including rocky helmets or like a damage modifier, and then Suicune has changed to double Cyrus instead of double Cave, so it's not even that bad of a matchup. I wouldn't mind putting it in sweaty actually.
Yeah, same here. So sweaty, it goes. The next deck I want to talk about is Blaziken and Cleffa. Now, Blaziken is a very high roll deck, but is still very, very strong, right? But like, this deck, adopts from Charizard and Cleffa from the last format, where it has been seeing a lot of success. But Mega Blaziken is definitely not Charizard EX, and this variant is super, super weak compared to everything else. And honestly, I feel like it belongs at the low. Darktina, it's not really strong compared to what you see with Entei and Heatmor. It's not really a viable meta choice. That's what I'm going with.
I think it's gonna be between either Slop or Darktina, because Cleffa does not get you rare candy. Yeah, like Cleffa helped with Charizard and Dragonite and all that stuff previously, but I feel like you're at your most like risky if you lose Torchic. Because like, yeah, you can lose a Charmander. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just don't see it as like mid, try hard with the others. Like the other version is way much better because it helps you draw into your cards that you need, the support cards, the Flame Patch, the rare candy, the lilies, the rocky helmets. Like, we'll get into that deck later, but I really feel like Cleffa Cleffa helps you find the evolution, but does not help with the support system behind it.
Here's what I'll say about it, okay? The implementation of the other Blaziken decks, they use Copycat and they use May. Copycat is what I'll focus on, is because with Cleffa, you're trying to draw as many cards as you can, and you're not necessarily wanting to Copycat your hand away because you're trying to keep those cards in your hand. But with the implementation of Copycat and the other ones, you're able to switch out your hand and therefore pull into Blaziken easier. Also, this deck doesn't have a really good Ori counter. The best Ori counter would have to be the Blaziken non-EX, and you're giving up a Torchic spot, and sometimes you want to go into like double Mega Blaziken lines, so it's just very weak in that aspect as well.
Exactly. There's a lot of Pokemon in this metagame right now that, you know, instantly do a lot of damage into the bench, and if you ever are in a position where you have to retreat the Clef, that's just a free point for your opponent as well too. Yeah, I'm putting it in.
Agreed.
Right above Darktina.
Yeah.
So I think we need something for the mid tier, and I'm gonna say Silvzera. Silvzera was really good against Suicune in the last format, just because you only needed to either play one or two of them, and it played really well against Darkrai as well, Darktina. But you're starting to see those two decks matchups less. It's still a good deck, don't get me wrong, but you just don't see it playing too well against Darktina and Suicune. I have yet to see it play well against Altaria and Mega Blaziken, because they just get one-shotted by that 130. Don't get me wrong, the Mega Absol against Darkrai and Ori, it could probably do a farewell match with them, but it being one-shotted by 130 damage is just not it for me. So I would rank Silvzera in mid tier, just because I haven't seen it do too much action where it's good but where it's bad either. So I do it at mid tier.
I would agree. One thing to note is this deck was evolved to Silv Ori as well, and I would put them into the same kind of deck type. It's the same thing. Silvzera, Silvori. And we saw it did well at the start of the season. Then it got lower and lower because it wasn't really doing much later in the season because of the facts that Snow did say. So I'm saying, considering Silvori as a deck that's within this archetype, it is pretty mid. I would agree.
Yeah, I'd say it will belong somewhere around the mid or slop area, because like it's a very good deck for like the average like beginner, you know? If you want to play in the game, steal some wins, yes, it could do that. But if you're playing a high ladder environment where, you know, right now the only thing we got is the ribbon event or the, you know, tournaments that are on, I would say it's definitely lacking in a lot of power, and I would honestly put it in the low tier slop, but unanimously we could put it in the mid tier.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
My next deck that I would be picking is a deck that actually I quite enjoy playing, but it was only really adapted into the meta near the second week and the third week, which was kind of surprising, and that's Magnazone or Oricorio. So this deck got first in a really big tournament by a player named Leafeon, and he made the deck. There's a Chingling. There's a double, either you play double Chingling or one Chingling, and it plays a double Copycat in there, and it just focuses on consistency and getting your Magnazones. It is a really good deck. It has really good matchups, but it's just not like good enough, consistent enough, or like has enough HP to deal with everything. So I would say it is mid tier.
You know what's funny about this deck is, no matter how much we try, no matter how many cards we get, there's no way to make Magnazone consistent. So we tried Sylveon, we tried Clef, we tried Copycat. I mean, yeah, I got a tournament win, but could that player have been, you know, just like lucky? You know what I'm saying? Seeing his lines.
Honestly, I could see it between mid and at the low end of try hard, because I love Magnazone. I think HK knows how much I love Magnazone. And it just seems to come back.
Exactly.
Comes back.
It's like the baby version of Darktina.
So I'll say this, like, there is that new version out with 2 double Copycats, but I will be trying it out with May. So I can't tell you my experience behind it, but I can see it between mid and low end high tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna say high mid tier. That's where I'll put it. All right, so the next deck I want to talk about is the Greninja and Suicune variant. So it's not the original Suicune variant. This is gonna be the one with the Mega. I mean, not the Mega, but Greninja EX. Now, I feel like Suicune really needed this push in this format in order to be a lot better than its previous form. The fact that you get to swap Suicune in with Greninja's ability, or swap out, a very bad lead, and then just, guarantee the 100 damage on the up front, and you have 170 HP, and the deck is so much better and so much consistent. You have 3 Greninjas that you could draw into and rare candy into, as opposed to only 2. So the days of just waiting for your Greninja, or losing the game because you didn't draw your Greninja is over, because you could have that as a backup attacker. And there's sometimes the 100 is so much better than Suicune's gimmicky 20 plus whatever's on the board. So honestly, it's a very strong deck. It wins tournaments. It has good matchups into everything right now. I feel like it's a sweaty deck, S tier. What do you guys think?
Agreed. I think it's arguably the best deck in the format.
I think it's try hard.
One thing to mention is the May. There's a May in that deck, which makes the deck 10 times better. You're able to dig for an early Giratina, or you're able to dig for a Greninja, or the Froakie, or the Greninja EX that you need. And then the health of Greninja EX being at 170, and then with a cape 190, and able to do 2 energy for 100 is just insane. Free a water Celesteela, it's just crazy to me. This deck is just broken within itself.
I don't think it's that broken. I think it's like high tier try hard, like at the very, very top of try hard, and that's just because the importance of megas. Because the deck that I'll get into right after this will display it, but I personally think try hard is where it sits at the very throne of try hard. Just because I'll answer that later on my this next clip.
Sure.
Well, if we're gonna be talking about megas with it, I think it has a good matchup into megas. The Greninja destroys the Blazikens, and it has enough HP to go against Absol.
And then Altaria gives Suicune a bunch of food.
Altaria doesn't do enough damage. If you're running a cape, Altaria can't do much.
And it gives Suicune attack power because of their bench.
For sure.
Wherever y'all want to put it.
We're gonna put it in S tier. One of the best in S tier. It has a lot of tournament results in order to solidify its positioning, I believe.
Okay.
Sure. I think it's the deck that's won the most tournaments this season, right?
It's very strong. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know where you put this, but there's two Absol with Darkrai and Absol with Ori. The deck I'm talking about runs all 3. You see what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so Absol Ori, I put that as the #1 deck in the game right now. Just the disruption alone, you can erase Cyrus's. You can erase Suicune's Irida. You could double red card PCL to sustain. Ori for answers to Megas, EXs. It's just so strong. And then the Darkrai chip, the double Cyrus. If you run double Cyrus, the cape, it's crazy. It is absolutely insane. And I've gone against Suicune, and with the new ninja, old ninja, Suicune, whatever, it just does. I have yet to struggle against those decks. Whenever back in the old format, I would get tired of facing against Suicune Ninja because it was always tough. But when I go into a Suicune matchup with this deck, that fear is that struggle is no longer there. I immediately start thinking, okay, let me start disrupting their hand. Let me start taking away their Cyrus. Let me start taking away their Darkrai. I'm sorry, their Iridas. My apologies. But yeah, it just plays really, really well beyond that. So.
I think you're correct. This is the deck that's gonna be the new Darktina, where it has almost good matchups into everything, but struggles into obviously its weaknesses, like Decidueye. This deck, okay, I'm just gonna say right now, I won a tournament today with this deck. It's a 300-person tournament with this deck. It was the Z Verum list with X Speed and Red. Red doesn't really do much. You should run double PCL. Everything that Snow said was correct. This deck has good matchups into everything. All the cards to sustain and to disrupt. Disrupting early is perfect with this deck.
Exactly, 100%.
I think it's the best deck in the format, personally, in my opinion.
Agree. And Eric, you said yourself, it has a like you base it off tournaments a lot. The deck has also won so many tournaments.
1000%. 1000%.
The next deck that we will be talking about is a deck that I despise. We're gonna go with Heatmor Blaziken.
Hey.
So the reason I despise this deck is on my way to winning the tournament today. Top 32, top 16, top 8, top 2. It was just against this deck with Absol Ori. And although Absol Ori is not the best matchup into it,
The consistency of Absol Ori will always win over any deck. Heatmor Blaziken, people have found a new way to play it. The fact that you can wall with an 80 HP Mon and start hitting on the bench.
For one.
That 80 HP is huge. For 1 energy, right? 80 HP is huge because it doesn't get killed by Ori swing with Darkrai ping. Bars, by the way. And then it plays Copycat, it plays May, it plays a bunch of consistency cards. It plays Cyrus, so you can Cyrus in with the Heatmor. It's just really good in my opinion. And I would put it is a newer deck, but put it at the top of tryhard, if not almost sweaty, in my opinion.
1000%. The fact that you could hit the back row and definitely just start taking, putting pressure on Oricorios, putting pressure on, Mega Absols or any of the Mega Pokemon to get Cyrus in to get, kicked for 140 damage. And, the deck plays a lot of Rocky Helmets, so they get punished for attacking any of your Pokemon that you equip with it too. It's kind of insane.
You're so right. The Rocky Helmets are so annoying. With this deck, you don't need to play an Ori counter because Combuskin and Heatmor with Rocky Helmets is just your Ori counter within itself.
Exactly.
Snow, what do you have to say about this deck, bro?
It's tryhard. I agree. It's a late deck that just got introduced this week, so I don't have too much info on it, but rather than seeing some people play against it and them struggle, and I can't seem to find a way where I can tell you personally that I've gone against it and won or lost to it. So I'm just gonna go with tryhard based on y'all's data and whatever I've seen from people playing against it.
And that's why we're all here, right?
Exactly. Now, one of my most favorite decks of this list right here, of the brand new decks that are out, we're gonna talk about Jolteon. Jolteon in the beginning had so much potential. It's amazing, but the problem with this deck is the consistency, and you have to start at some point you have to start the EV, right? So you could get the boosted evolution, so you could get that Jolteon out on the board, and then you could start punishing your opponent for attaching energy. And just the simple fact that you need that in order to kick it off. You also want to get your turn 1 Zeras. A lot of the electric decks need Zeraora to start, because you got the elemental switches as well to just move around your energy all over the field, because you don't want to see a Zeraora in your turn 2 or your turn 3. It's very strong when it pops off, but it's very mediocre when it comes into the late game and you're not set up. And sadly, that's mainly the position that you're gonna be at most of the time with this deck, because you can only play two of the regular EVs, and then if you start adding in EVEX, it's just gonna hurt the consistency of the deck. Even if you play like Sylveon, Sylveon's not gonna do anything but draw you 2 cards, but then again, it's just gonna be a free EX Pokemon, free 2 points for your opponent to dunk on. With Heatmor and Jirachi being out and Decidueye, it's just free points on the board. And I think it's I would say the low mid tier, but I would put it in slop.
I would think it's mid tier between slop, just because the only time Jolteon really came out to play was because Darkrai and Dark Tina mentioned earlier. It was just you couldn't do that anymore. You couldn't sit and stack up energy anymore.
And Stoke Zard.
Yeah, and Stokesard, when people were using Mega Gyarados and the Misty coin flips, and it automatically kill their Mega Gyarados if they land like, 10 heads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's like it plays very well against the sweaty decks, not even the try hard decks, because it's low cost energy between those decks. Like if you look at it right now, all those decks that we mentioned at the top, they're just low cost energy, and Jolteon doesn't have enough room, and you can easily just knock out Jolteon with that. What is it, 140 HP, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's not, it doesn't have a Mega to help it sustain. Maybe an Ori in there to survive, but the key thing is you want Jolteon EX in the front for that ability to go off. So to me, it's like between low tier and mid tier.
I agree. Final thing I'll say about it is I agree with everything Snow said. You want Jolteon at the front, but then again it's at 140 HP, so you can't really play Oricorios. If it was a bench, like if it was the ability on the bench, maybe it'd be a little bit better. And then the fact that like you have to commit energies to it, like I just don't think it has any good partners as well. So I agree with the slopper mid tier.
Bang. Well, I'll put it at high slop.
Charizard Moltres. Put that thing at the slop.
No, that's going S tier easily. It's Zard.
Okay, no.
Yeah, S tier. Yeah.
No.
All right, next.
No, I don't care. I was the big believer in Fire Patch will bring back,
Of
Apex,
210 Zard, 220
Zard. We'll bring back Zard, because you can knock out Megas. But bro, do you rely on Moltres and coin flips? Like, man. Like, in my thing, any of those decks at the top do not rely on random RNG to help base on their attacks. Moltres will help you with getting, ramping up Charmander to Zard or whatever. Yeah, you get to flip 3 coins guaranteed, but it's not, they're not all going to be guaranteed heads. And the 2 Fire Patches will all go to 1 Zard. What will you do when they knock it out and now you're stuck with a dead Zard or a Moltres with 0 energy? So I can just say right now it's between slop and mid. I did see it go all the way high into my tournament this past weekend to the finals, but I'm gonna give you some more context on that. You could only use that deck once in the format, and they played at the very final, and it did really almost knock out Blaziken, but it just shows the lack thereof that you need like so much fire energy for that Zard to go up, and not having guaranteed energy from Moltres is just bad. So I think it's just like between low tier and mid.
I think if you're still playing this, you just have to let it go. You just have to let it go. Come on, genetic Apex is over. Get to the Mega Rising.
There's a lot of problems with it, and I'll tell you what the problems are. So usually when you have a heavy hitting Pokemon like a Zard or like a Blaziken, right? You don't want anything else on the board. You want that the only thing to be hitting. But the fact that you have to commit a Moltres on the board as well, meaning they always have a Cyrus target. And if you get Chingling locked, that means that you're never evolving with a rare candy into your Zard. Also, with the Flame Patch idea, I kind of knew that it wasn't going to affect it much, just because of the fact that if you're going into Zard, you either have like 5 energy on it already, or like somewhat a lot of energy, so you'd be attacking twice anyways. And the Ori counter is just weird as well. You have to play like the regular Zard. It just sucks, man.
Yeah, the 150 damage one that has a 4 energy, and you have to discard. Yeah, I don't feel like
it's not just like, in Snow's words, buns.
Too slow.
Yeah, and we should honorably do its justice and put it above Darktina
for Snow.
My Shayla.
Alright, we gotta bring this deck up. This deck was so random, and it was pretty strong for a week. Goodra and Indeedee. This deck was one of the most fun decks I've played in this format. The simple fact that it started off with water psychic energy type of a combo, it seemed like it was gonna be like super terrible, but there was like a point where I was playing against like an Absol player, and a Mega Absol, and it went into turn 13, right? That I ended up getting my water energy so I could use this Goodra. He could only do 80 damage. I was healing 80 damage every turn. He could not do anything to my Goodra. That's why I lasted a little bit longer. You have so much healing in this deck with double Indeedee and then Lilies as well. And not only that, you have access to Heavy Helmet. So this thing is the definition of a tank. Once you set it up, it's like forever good. But that's like the problem. It's like, you know, double energy has never been great in this game. We could see Dragonite for that. Sure, you had the babies to, you know, support the Dragonite, but this deck doesn't have that. It only has bulk and healing. I just think the deck is very mid, but, you know, some decks have trouble dealing with it. It's like a low tier mid. It could still like win, but I wouldn't say like you're kind of high rolling. Do I get the rare candy and full evolution or not?
I'd say agree. I'd agree. I was actually in the tournament that this deck was going up against. It was so funny to watch. Destroy everything except for Suicune Greninja, just because Suicune Greninja can target the Indeedees in the back. This deck, it's almost like 100% matchup into Absol Ori. Like, you cannot do anything against this deck, bro. It's so funny to see. But any other matchup is just straight like garbage and dog water into.
Exactly.
But if you get that Goodra early, bro, like
It's
nothing
over.
is stopping that Goodra.
You just win the game.
I'm just gonna say right now, I don't have too much data with that Goodra and the DD, but the key thing that you guys mentioned is double energy, and the one thing that I really hate, I hate this word in today's meta right now, setup. We're not in like we're not in Mewtwo or Gardevoir era anymore, where if you set it up, you win, right? That's the key thing, setup. You don't have time for setup when you have these megas just coming out like crazy, or copycats, maze, you know, helping with evolutions and all that stuff. Like, yeah, you can help it May with evolving it, but you still need a Mantike up front to feed it water, or run double energy in your deck and just relying on RNG on that. Like, I don't know what that deck is built on, but I'm assuming it's one of those two things. And yeah, I can't setup is just, I'm a huge repellent against, you know, that's a repellent towards me. If you say, oh, it's got to be set up right, I'm never gonna try out that deck in ranked. I will try it out in random private matches. Maybe it's a fun deck, but for me, I think it would be between mid tier and slot.
Yeah, I definitely would say I agree in that, but yeah, mid tier, I would say it goes. No, I feel like this tier list looks like a little bit of Tetris, or a little too rectangular.
We're feeling yeah. I'm gonna go with this next one, and it's Absol Hydreigon.
Hey.
So I see the potential. I definitely do. I'm just very confused as to where it really stands in the meta, because it can be it could be so devastating. It's like it could either be so good where you're like you're not worried at all about your matchup because you got it all.
Have you played against this deck? Have you played against this deck?
I have played against this deck, and let me mind you, half the times they either bricked because they didn't get the Hydreigon, or they had it turn 1 Hydreigon with Absol, Mega Absol in the back or in the front. Doesn't matter. They had turn 1, turn 2 Hydreigon. So I'm really confused as where this stands. Is either between high high tier at the very top, or at the very low end of tryhard. Sorry, I think it's a good idea what they're trying to do with how you don't have to stack energy to your Absol. But man, if you don't get the cards you need for this, it's just like and that's the thing, setup. But it's not as much setup as the others. The one we mentioned about, this just involves one setup, and that's just getting it to evolve in the back. But yeah, I'm really confused where to put this, honestly. It's not sweaty.
Actually, before I state my opinions, Ericko, go ahead, bro.
So there are two variants I feel of this deck that could be played. You definitely could play like a Clef version and the more popular version with Chingling that I've been seeing around, Chingling and the Hydreigon. And overall, that build is kind of nice, but you know, has a very weak matchup into the Fire Blaziken deck. That's where I would say, and I feel like it's lacking in power. The consistency, I would say, not power, to be in the S tier category. I would say in A tier because it's good, but it's not good enough to contend, you know, with the rest.
A lot of people, they'll rate this deck just based off looking at tournaments and looking at the thing about the tournaments that are happening now is they're so big with like a lot of people that they'll be best 2 out of 3, which that means that for rare candy decks it's more favored because you have a higher chance of being able to like pull into your rare candies over the course of 3 games. And I would agree, this deck is really, really good. Chingling version or Cleffa version with the Absol as well. And I did start to think that it was like sweaty, but longer and longer that I've looked at it, it hasn't really won a tournament yet. It's gotten like second, maybe like a few like top placing finishes. That's because it's a high roll deck, right? High roll decks will always get that. I think this deck is in try hard for the most part.
I 1000% agree.
It's very scary if you see that Hydreigon turn 2. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you.
Right.
As soon as
Yeah.
I see it,
It's a threat.
as soon as it's Rampardos, bro.
That doesn't get
It is
50
Rampardos.
damage per knockout.
It's Rampardos, but it's even better, I would say, because you can find the Dino with a Pokeball.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about Greninja Oricorio. so this deck actually, as long as
Just for future reference, guys, any Greninja and Suicune involvement, HK will talk about it.
Yeah, there we go. He's the pro. He's the pro.
We're talking about Greninja Oricorio, yeah. So Greninja Oricorio, this deck has been around since like Stone Ages. Like ever since this Oricorio came around, they've just paired it with Greninja and then called it a day. It's evolved every single season, and there has only been a couple metas where it's been the best deck. But in this meta, where there is a lot of Ori counters, but you're able to counter the Megas and the EXs, I would put this deck in like high mid-tier. And although a lot of people may argue against that, I can't really put it any higher than that, just because it's like a gimmick deck, right? You pull into your Oricorios, sit behind your Oricorios, and then try to pull into your Greninjas, and that's pretty much it. That's how the deck goes now.
Yeah, no, the deck is not that great as it was before. Like,
Be careful with that. HK is gonna get mad at you when you say that.
what I hate about the version I hate the most about this deck is the Giratina Sylveon version. I hated that version with a passion. But, you know, it's not that the meta has evolved where everything else is a lot quicker, and you know, you're just doing a lot of chip damage. A lot of decks already adapted on dealing with the Oricorio, and the deck is just not that great anymore. And I do believe it still could get, you know, multiple wins, but at the same time, you know, high mid tier is where I think this thing belongs.
It's a counter deck, right?
Yeah.
Like if it goes up against its counters, it'll win. Other than that, then nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. It's like between high and mid, but I think it belongs more in mid than anything. But at the very top. though, at
Agreed.
least.
Agreed.
We're gonna talk about the goated deck, Blaziken and Entei. This deck right here, since the beginning of Mega Rising, has been seeing a lot of success. The legendary dog finally getting its respect. It's basically the fire version of Suicune. The consistency of just, you know, being able to draw into your pieces, rare candies, Torchics, or even Mega Blaziken in order to, you know, ramp up and, you know, just sit there and draw cards. But the thing is too, not only you're drawing cards, you're dealing 60 damage to whatever's out in the board, and they have to, you know, knock out your Entei, which is gonna be 140 HP as well, which they're gonna need to get rid of because they don't want Entei to stay alive. so you could you know, get all the pluses from the free draws at the end of the turn, because the more cards you see in your hand, the more options you have, and you know, the more likely you're gonna win the game. And the deck is just super strong, but I wouldn't say it's S tier. I would say it's more on the A tier, the tryhard tier, because again, it's, you still have to depend on, you know, Entei. There are times like where, you know, what if you draw 2 Enteis, you're kind of screwed, but at the same time, you know, you could get that slow Torchic to pop off. The deck is good, without a doubt, but I think the Heatmor version is so much stronger in this metagame right now. But I'll leave the mic to both of y'all.
I agree. It's just definitely at the very top of high tier. It doesn't belong in sweaty, just because all those 3 other decks right there are too good. And let me tell you why. Mega Absol, it can discard the support, right? And then now you run a better version of Suicune, which is, you know, the water version of Celesteela with the Greninja. You're able to shift your board around. And then you have, you know, Mega Altaria with the Chingling, and so it's just like, and plus the water, I forgot to say, it's the biggest weakness of this deck, and you can chip away anything in the back and the Cyrus and all that. Yeah, it's like, I really do think that it wants to be up there with those 3 decks, but I believe it's just at the very top of high tier. Don't get me wrong, when the card was first introduced in the teaser trailer, everybody thought this was going to be the most broken card in the game. But as soon as the meta kind of resolved itself, balanced with everything coming out, all the data we got from tournaments, all this stuff, I think it sort of found its way down to the very top of high tier.
I don't know about you guys, but I think this deck is buns, bro. Like if you look at the statistics, 30% win rate into Absol, into Suicune Gran, into Gran Ori, into Mega Altaria, into almost every deck. It's just 30%. It's like fodder, pretty much. And the reason why is it's pretty counterintuitive actually, is because the meta at the start of the season, everyone knew this deck was going to be good, but they didn't know how to counter it. Everyone knew Blaziken was going to be good a week in, so they started to counter around it. So Blaziken has no more room until they found this Heatmor variation. I do want to say I really wanted to put this deck in tryhard because I thought it was going to be really good, but I just think it's mid. Like, looking at all the statistics and, like, playing it, it just doesn't feel good anymore.
Meaning that you brought up those statistics, I'm deadass thinking of replacing it in mid, because 30% statistics into everything right now in the updated...
Bro, I was looking at it, it's so bad, bro.
Yeah, that
okay,
doesn't
well,
sound great.
Since he did his homework on that, put it in mid.
Yeah.
At the very top. No more discussions about it. I'm sorry for all you Blaziken lovers, but
Heatmor is the way. Heatmor is the way.
The next thing I will say is this is based on my own experience, but I think Hitmonchan with Rampardos should be like dead ass at the end of, like, it's either at the dead end as like slop. I'm sorry for cussing, by the way. You can bleep me out, but it should be at the end of slop or Dark Tina, because yeah, it's nice that you can get like a fossil guaranteed in the back, but Hitmonchan only hitting for 50
non-weakness too.
Like, are we serious? Like, that's a strong deck. I don't understand. Like help me, like, you know, with this, guys. Like, please teach me how this deck is good. Like, you're still bricking because you're still relying on a chance of, you know, you getting that Rampardos. Don't get me wrong, I seen the Rampardos with the Aerodactyl EX, but I have yet to hear anybody say this deck is broken or you should try out Hitmonchan Rampardos Arrow. You should, or, you know, I have yet to see anything like no discussion has been told to me about, like, you should try this deck out, or this deck is really good, well, at least really good, or like, oh, you know, like, no. I would say this, like, yeah, Sorry, but
No, the deck is terrible. It's not that great. Like,
yeah.
I've played the deck in one of the series I'm doing, and just overall, Machamp, it's not that great. It's terrible. Rampardos is as high roll as you could get in this game, and nah, it's just slop.
Yeah, the fact that like Ori's on the rise and you have to go through like a Rampardos to kill an Ori, and then you're tactically giving up 2 points with the Hitmonchan. And then more of a fact is Psychic is on the rise, and also Grass decks are on the rise. So like you're just this deck has nothing going for it. For real.
I think it's a fun deck. All right, it's a fun deck to try against your friends.
Alright, he's coming with the glaze.
Like
It's all good.
Sounds like you're sounding like my second grade teacher. It's a fun idea.
I know, right?
You're on the right track.
It's a fun deck that you should try on your friends as a prank. I don't know.
Anyways.
But yeah, it's slop. It's Darktina. That's where I'm going with it.
Mid? No, slop. Pure slop.
Yeah. For my next deck, we're gonna be talking about. Let's go with Ampharos and Oricorio. And actually, what I'll say about this deck is this deck is scary when it gets its pieces. And I know you can say that for every other deck, but the 60 damage to the bench is no joke. And Ampharos having 210 HP. I was playing Altaria against it once, and I almost lost in the third game, do or die, because he ended up just hitting 10 on my Jirachi, on my Chingling with 30 HP, and then 40 on my Jirachi with 50 HP. So 2 of my monsters survive on 10 HP. But I will say this deck isn't the best. There a lot of things counter it. It's a 3 energy attacker, so you would need like an E-switch, you would need like a cord for it to work. So I would just say this deck is mid.
Yeah, I feel like the deck just like it's good when it pops off, but like it needs help. Like electric isn't where it needs to be with support. Yeah, a lot of the support cards it has, you know, are pretty slow. I'm not gonna lie. It has the Pichu, but like we're not talking about that version, but still it's all right. It's definitely mid.
Can I add to it? Everyone
Sure,
thought this was gonna be the Suicune killer. That's it.
It does okay at the Suicune, but you have to 2-shot it, and you're not gonna put a red in this deck. You just don't have space.
100%.
It's definitely mid.
Next deck, let's talk about Suicune Greninja, the old true best deck, right? So this deck right here, there are already better variants, which is basically the Greninja EX variant. The deck is still very solid at what it does, and it also has access to May, but you know, it's still one of those decks where like it's good enough to win, but it's not. I don't think there's like tournament winning like potential as a this state in the meta right now, because there are a lot of other better variants. I think it's more of a try hard, because like if we go back to talking about like, you know, the Suicune, I mean the Greninja Ori, I'm just basing it because it's like kind of like a water deck that's been seeing success in the earlier in the format. I'll compare it to something like that, where those two decks were seeing a lot of success in the beginning in the format. But as you know, the meta has developed with, you know, the Suicune EX, and then even like a double Greninja EX type of format, I feel like the deck is just a try hard. I would say somewhere in the mid try hard, but what do you guys think?
I think it's mid as AF, just because that deck is no longer you're running on old cards when there's new cards better. You know, there's Alicia, there's May, there's Copycat.
Giratina's slow.
And you have Greninja EX. The list goes on, man. I think the new version is way better than this version, so I think it just like it evolved. I'm not saying that this deck is dead, but it evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it mid. I would put it mid because it's still a free to play deck that's still good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mid.
I'd say I'd agree with the mid. Not gonna lie. Like, there's no use case for this deck. Like, it's cool and all, but everything that Snow said was correct as well.
We are gonna place it in mid, high mid, because it's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Okay, so Arceus Crobat, the Arceus Crobat deck. Let me just say off this. I saw somebody run Arceus Crobat, and that deck looks really fun. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm a big fan of, like, you know, Arceus combo plays with Crobat EX, because that free 30 chip damage, you're not afraid of Oricorios, and the ability to do 190 if everything is set up correctly. But that's the thing, setup. I honestly, I think it's mid, like low and mid. I don't think it's slop, but I think it's like low and mid. Yeah, it's exciting to do 190 numbers, but man, what are you gonna do if they get to your Arceus fast?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I've been
it's
seeing
set up. Don't get me wrong, the May and the Lycias are helping this deck out tremendously, but in my opinion, it's still kind of slow, just because, yeah, you're probably sacrificing a baby to ramp up Arceus, but it's not helping you find rare candy or Crobat any faster if you're not proffing at the same time while you're using May or Lycia. It's like, it's a lot of setup, but it pays off. But I honestly think it's like low and mid.
Yeah, you pretty much covered everything. Arceus has the potential to be good, like we saw last season, but with the ability of like this deck not running any heals, just if it gets pinged once and then Cyrus, then you're just cooked for the rest of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I haven't had that much experience with the deck this format, but like I've seen it gain a lot of popularity as of late. But yeah, I'd say I'd give it the same rating as you guys.
It's exciting to see like 190 plus red to make it 210. That's exciting to see. But man, what did it take? You know?
At what cost?
For real. Next deck to talk about. Let's go with Mega Pinsir Oricorio.
I know where to put this thing.
I think that Snow is gonna be very strongly opinionated on this deck.
Yep.
I think this deck is like S tier, honestly. The fact that you can one shot it.
We needed that.
I'm kidding.
We needed that reaction.
I'm just...
Dog,
I'm serious.
I had to mute my mic because I'm throwing a fit over here, but go on.
Snow's crashing out.
I knew he would react like this, but you gotta hear me out, bro. The fact that you can one-shot an Absol is just like, it's just insane. And then with the Pichu, you just charge the Oricorio, and then nothing is getting through to you, right? So, like, this deck is just S tier. Like, you can't do much about the Oricorio or, like, the second, third Pinsir.
Okay, alright.
Nah, this man's trolling.
This man is trolling.
Nah, this deck is buzzed, bro.
He could've. That justification was so crazy.
Put it right next to its brother in slop. I'm not gonna say too much. I don't care. You start off with Mega Pinsir, bro. It's hard to get out of and recover it. Yeah, but you can use Leaf, okay? But what if you don't get Leaf? You know? I don't care, bro. Mega Pinsir is so buns, bro, and it relies on 3 energy. It's just like when you start off with Mega Pinsir, it's hard to get out of that situation with, you know, whatever. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I've tried it, Mega Pinsir. I've seen other people try it. It's just so painful seeing your Mega go down like that, bro. And just to say, wow, I just lose like that, you know, you're gonna have that expression come out of your face. I don't care about I don't care about the Mega Pinsir enthusiast, you know. I'm gonna tell you right now, man, you need to get out of that copium.
I kind of liked how you said I'm not gonna say anything much about this deck, and then you just went on a monologue.
This deck is buns. Anything you have to say about Mega Pinsir is buns, bro. Lilligant, it will not make it better. I promise you.
Yo, Ericko, I think you should put both the Pinsir decks in just the S tier.
I know, right?
For Snow.
Or just create a brand new tier, the Snow tier, and put it all the way high.
Let's go. Okay. Who's next?
That's me. Let's talk about good old Mega Ampharos and Pichu. So at least this variant, you know, could charge you up really quick when it comes to your Ampharos. And I know it plays. You have the ability to play what do you call it, Zeraora and Elemental switches. But the thing is, Pichu works a little bit quicker to your, to your goal instead of waiting, one turn to attach to your Ampharos, so you could get your attacks off a lot quicker. Overall, not much to say. I think it's better than the Ori version. That's about it. I'm gonna call it mid. What do you guys think?
I could tell you right now, any Ampharos deck right now is mid. Don't get me wrong. I'm just gonna go back to what I said. Everyone thought it was gonna be a Suicune killer, and it's just not.
Yeah,
it's not keeping up with the megas.
Electric needs a lot of help.
The other ones, like for real. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I feel like people are gonna find new ways to build the Mega Absol, the Mega Altaria, the Suicune. People are gonna continue evolving those decks, but Mega Ampharos, like, I feel like it's gonna keep the same old format with Elemental Switch, Ori, and Pichu. Like, that's all I can see, and there's no room for like growth in that deck as far as the others.
Yeah.
And like recently, Blaziken got that Heatmor. Like seriously, like, these decks are finding ways. Ampharos is just like, yeah, you just modified a Zeraora or an Ori or whatever. I that's all I have to really say to it.
I'm assuming that Absol deck is the Tyrogue Chingling one.
Okay, so I haven't really tried that deck out, but I will say this: I did try the Altaria and Indeedee. I think it's mid AF at the very top. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the heals help out well. And I'm a big user of it. And we're talking like, this still has Chingling, right? The Indeedee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, no. There's no real answer to Ori on that deck. Especially with Mega Absol, and it's just weak to Mega Absol. It's weak to Suicune. It's weak to the more. It's just like, you see all those decks up top, man. Mega Altaria can get sniped like easily. Like, it could get swept. So I'm just gonna put it mid AF, because I think all the other decks that we mentioned are just way much better at answering Mega Altaria and Indeedee. Yeah, the heal is like annoying in its sustainability, but I can say that other Mega Altaria version is way better than this one, and there's just so much answers to that with the other decks. The Absol Ori, weakness right there. Suicune Tina can snipe it. That other Mega Altaria version is way better. The Heatmor is a snipe. Cyrus, the Decidueye. You guys can make the assumptions, but man, I just don't see this deck as better than the other one. I consider it mid AF.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just want to say, like this deck, it may seem like it performs real well if you look at tournament stats, but that's the thing with Mega Altaria is, if you pull a Mega Altaria going second and then you're able to pull into another one in your back one, nothing's really beating it. It's fairly consistent because it's a stage 1, but overall it has bad matchups. If you don't pull the Altaria, you're screwed, and it just feels bad into all the other decks. So I'd agree with mid, honestly.
Yeah, 1000%.
It's just personally, that other version is just way better.
Yeah.
I'll bounce off the other Altaria deck. This Altaria Sylveon deck, we said it like 5 times. Buns, bro. Like, I tried this deck out. I thought we were cooking with it, but the Altaria really doesn't need the Sylveon. You have Licia, so like having that extra draw just like hinders you even more, because you're pulling into way too many cards for your own good that you don't need. And it's a stage 1, so why do you even need the Sylveon in the first place? This deck for me is just slop.
Yeah, we have to let go of Eevee's Grove. It's long gone.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it belongs to Darktina in that category. It's unplayable. It's really unplayable. Like,
damn.
Like, for real. Like, yeah, like Sylveon EX can help you draw into your bench and all that to help power up Altaria. But man, all those other versions are just too, like, way better than this by a mile.
I'd give it the mid.
Yeah.
I'd give it.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, it's gonna be between Slop and Darktina for me.
Alright, well, there's one mid, one slop, one Darktina, so we just go in the middle and go to slop. No?
Yeah, it'll be there. Alright, let's talk about Tyrogue, Absol, and Darkrai. I got Darktina stuck in my mind because of you guys. Anyways, The deck is pretty cool. The simple fact that you don't have to commit to an attack and start building into your Absol in the back row, or you could even just knock out a Oricorio with the ping from the Darkrai plus the damage from Tyrogue, and you guys have access to Geo and even Red for the Mega Pokemon. And just overall, the deck is pretty solid. I've seen it do very well in many tournaments, and I think it's still a good version. I'd say somewhere in between the Hydreigon and Chingling version of Mega Absol. What do you guys think?
I have no experience on this one because I've been running this superior version where I just refuse I refuse to try any other version besides that. So call me ignorant, call me stubborn, whatever. But don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer in Tyrogue, and you know that firsthand. Like Tyrogue is like, it's a
That's
good
what carried
start.
you last season.
It's a good start, I'll tell you that. So I either think it's mid or I just think it's just mid.
Yeah.
I thought the deck was really good. I started using it. It's like that's Ori.
Hold on. You sound like a robot.
Talk again now, HK.
Give me a second. Hello?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Alright. What I'll say about this deck is, I thought it was good when it was like on the rise, but then I started playing it and then playing against it, and what I decided is like it's not good into Oricorio because most Oricorio decks are running double cape. Yeah. And then the fact that into Blaziken you don't deal enough damage even if you start with a Chingling, they just started playing Rocky Helmets, so you can't even really attack into them with the Chingling, and then all the other matchups to just feel bad into. So I would agree with like the mid to like try hard.
The only reason why it's keeping it try hard is just Darkrai and Absol, but I really do think it's like borderline at the very top of mid AF.
I'll put it at the end of try.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This one, is it my turn, right? Yeah, right. Okay. So, hold on. All right. So yeah. Sorry, I had to order wings. Anyways, scratch that off, editor. So Ori with Zera. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm only gonna go with this deck because I don't know that double ninja deck. That's new to me. So with the Zera Ori deck, I'll say this: it's really mid, because it's relying on discarded energy. A setup like that, a setup on you not bricking with, you know what I'm talking about. With the rare candy Zera, and then you playing RNG with hide and seek. It's like, it's mid. It's a fun deck to try against your friends. And if it plays well, good job. But you're what's the payoff in the end? 130 after surviving for such a long time. I think it's mid.
I agree with you. Like the thing is, like you run the Oricorio, but like if they like if you're going up against Absol and they take away your Volkners for the Luxray, you're just screwed. The deck doesn't do enough damage, and it's sloppy to play with. So I'd agree with the mid allegation there.
I think it's mid, between mid and slop, honestly. Just like thinking about how unlucky you can be, or how bad the RNG. It sounds like Ericko's on the same boat. I think he's tried it too many times.
No, I'll be honest, I've never played this deck in my life. So, and it's just one of those decks I don't care. I've never cared to build this thing, and I'ma just go with what y'all said, because I've
so this really last deck, I think this deck is the adaptation of the no Giratina, and then like either double ninja or double ninja EX Suicune-less. Is what is happening here. I think this deck is actually pretty good. Taking away the Giratina all in all, because Giratina is too slow, and just solely focusing on like Greninja EX and like your Greninjas with like May and Copycat as well, because you have that extra space now. You're able to just focus on your like Greninjas, as I said, and then be able to deal 100 damage consistently. It does run into some like problems when it's like going up against Ori, because you have to like find your cards and everything. But with Suicune, you're not too worried. I wouldn't be opposed to putting this
So you're
like.
saying the Mega Greninja EX is the big player, right? Like Suicune is just a shield.
Yeah, pretty much. Suicune's just there to secondary or last attacker if need be. But what you're really wanting to play around is your Greninja EXs.
Okay. I could see that like in Tryhard.
Yeah, it's used a lot in Brick City ranked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that in Tryhard, borderline sweaty. So my vote goes at the very top of Tryhard, just because like you're reliant on Suicune being the shield, or versus like the other variation, your Suicune is your draw power and your damage, and you have ways to like play more around it without relying on that one card if things go wrong.
Yeah, 1000%. So, Tryhard is definitely where I'd say it will go. Like, yeah, Giratina's too slow.
Well, I'd say at the very top, because I think it's better than that Heatmor Blaziken.
Bang. And basically, this is gonna conclude the tier list for the meta that we're in for the current standing. Any final words, HK or Snow?
Go ahead, Snow.
Please don't bring back Darktina.
It's already dead.
You can't use Monster Reborn on it unless there's a new support card out there that just makes it like catch up to what all these others are doing. Don't bring it back. Mega Pinsir will always be considered buns. I think it's worse than Darktina, but the only thing keeping it alive is that it's a Mega, and and that it can one-shot those two, because it takes as much time to charge that up as Darktina does. But just don't try to bring back Darktina, please. Thank you.
What I'll say is, since Snow said that, I'll find a way to bring back Darktina. But
you can add
other than
Jolteon
that,
EX all you want, bro, but it's not coming back.
But what I'll say is, this will be for like, obviously there's gonna be new adaptations to new decks, so like obviously this tier list isn't gonna be holding on forever, but this is the best of our abilities, and I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, and this is all opinion based, so don't feel bad that if we put your favorite deck in the wrong spot. This is just based on our experience playing these decks, seeing it play in tourney plays. We may have missed some details or some decks, but it's just as HK said, there's always going to be new adaptations every week. Ranked hasn't really started, so we're still shifting towards that, what it's going to look like, basically, but we have a good grasp right now. But yeah, if we did miss out of some new decks, some of your decks that are pretty good or whatever, they're new decks that evolve, please let us know, or let Eric know, and then we'll see what our opinions lie on that.
And make sure to check them both out on TikTok. Go follow them. They live stream Pokemon Pocket. And yeah,